finally, what we all have been waiting for and calling for and questioning why it wasn't happening. Stephanie White has stepped up to the plate in defense of Caitlin Clark. I could not believe my ears, guys. I could not believe my ears when I heard this. Stephanie White actually being bold enough to stand on business and protect Caitlin Clark. Stephanie White.
With that one word, a WNBA head coach didn't just defend her star player, Caitlin Clark. She ignited a firestorm and exposed a secret war happening inside the league. For months, players have been whispering about a commissioner they feel disrespects them, but now the whispers have turned into a roar. From accusations of delusional leadership to claims the commissioner told players they should be on their knees thanking her, the league is imploding from the inside out, and it's all going public.
And it is Stephanie White talking about Caitlin Clark being brought up in a lot of these conversations in CBA by other people, and not her speaking herself. And I think this is a really interesting one. And it's clear from this answer, I've already listened to this, it's very clear from this answer that Stephanie White clearly and Caitlin Clark, there's clearly a level of person, like they clearly really like each other as people.
The word landed with the force of a physical blow, both for its simplicity and its devastating implication. When Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White labeled Caitlin Clark a pawn, she was articulating a truth that many had sensed, but no one in her position had dared to say aloud. This wasn't just about the physical battering Clark endures on the court. It was about the far more insidious game being played in boardrooms, in media interviews, and behind closed doors. A pawn is a disposable piece, the most numerous and least powerful figure on the chessboard, sacrificed to protect the more valuable pieces. By using this term, White painted a vivid picture of a 23-year-old phenom being strategically maneuvered and exposed by various factions. The league office, certain veteran players, the media, all to serve their own agendas, with little regard for the personal cost to Clark herself. It was a stunning accusation of manipulation and exploitation at the highest level of the sport.
Stepping up to the plate, saying what it is. These people are using Caitlin Clark. They're disrespecting, and we can't allow it.
To fully grasp the weight of White's statement, you have to understand who she is. This wasn't some rookie coach firing off an emotional soundbite. Stephanie White is WNBA royalty. She was a player in the league's inaugural 1997 season, a pioneer who fought for the very survival of the league and its first collective bargaining agreement. She has seen it all, from the days of flying commercial and fighting for basic health insurance to the current media explosion. So when she calmly diagnoses the current chaos as growing pains, it's a masterful piece of understated criticism. She is subtly framing the league's current leadership as ill-equipped to manage the mainstream success they've stumbled into, suggesting they lack the foresight and experience that someone like her possesses. It was a calculated, strategic move from a league veteran who knows exactly how to make her point without burning the whole house down.
And then Caitlin Clark kind of getting brought into that, Caitlin Clark responding to it. What has been your overall assessment of that dialogue and as it relates to your star player?
Yeah, I mean, I hate it all for Caitlin. I feel like, she's a 23-year-old kid who loves to play this game, who is a pawn in a lot of other people's games and a lot of other people's narratives, and I hate that for her. We're coming into a time in the WNBA where we're kind of part of the growing pains of becoming quote unquote mainstream professional sport is some of this stuff.
While White's words were a broad condemnation of the system, they had a very specific, unseen target, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. The former CEO of Deloitte, Engelbert, was brought in to elevate the WNBA's business profile. However, a growing chorus of players and coaches believe her corporate-first mindset has created a dangerous disconnect from the heart of the league, the basketball and the athletes themselves. The sentiment bubbling to the surface is that the commissioner views players as assets on a balance sheet rather than as human beings and partners in the league's growth. White's comments didn't create this sentiment. They simply validated it, giving a powerful voice to the widespread frustration that had been building toward the commissioner's office for months.
I do think that we are at a pivotal moment in terms of the league's history. And look, I was a part of the very first collective bargaining agreement of the WNBA, where we wanted insurance all year long, to now where it is growing and players do deserve more. And leadership needs to reflect where we are as a league, and also understand where we are as a league and where players' perspectives are coming from. And we have coaches on the sidelines, and Becky Hammond and myself, and of course Noelle Quinn, who was in Seattle, who played in this league.
The first person to truly break the code of silence was Napheesa Collier. In a press conference that will be remembered as a turning point in the league's history, the Minnesota Lynx star and union vice president didn't just answer questions. She delivered a prepared, damning indictment. Reading from her notes, Collier recounted a private conversation where she alleged Engelbert dismissed concerns about player compensation with a shocking take on Caitlin Clark's off-court success. The commissioner, Collier claimed, suggested Clark should be grateful for the WNBA platform, implying her massive endorsement deals were a product of the league, not her own transcendent talent. The comment was seen as a profound insult, a sign that the commissioner fundamentally misunderstood or deliberately downplayed the Caitlin Clark effect that was single-handedly revolutionizing the league's fortunes. If Napheesa Collier's statement was a carefully planned artillery strike, Sophie Cunningham's response was a close-range ambush. Known for her fierce loyalty and tough-as-nails demeanor on the court, Cunningham brought that same energy to her defense of Clark online. Reacting to the commissioner's alleged remarks, she unleashed a verbal torrent, branding Engelbert the most delusional leader our league has seen. This was a stunningly direct and personal attack, the kind of raw, unfiltered criticism rarely seen from an active player. It signaled that the players' frustration had passed the point of diplomatic negotiation. They were now willing to engage in open warfare to make their voices heard, and they were no longer afraid of the consequences. The discontent has seeped from the court to the coaches' chairs. Las Vegas Aces coach Becky Hammond, one of the most respected minds in basketball, has been on a crusade against what she sees as a dangerously lax and inconsistent officiating standard, particularly concerning the brutal physicality directed at star players. She has openly mocked the league's token fines as a cost of doing business to speak the truth. Her public critique, which she knows will lighten her wallet, demonstrates that the league's problems are not isolated incidents. When a coach of a championship-caliber team feels compelled to repeatedly challenge the league's on-court integrity, it exposes a systemic failure that threatens the credibility of the entire product. This failure of leadership isn't just about disrespectful words. It's written in the bruises on Caitlin Clark's body. From the moment she stepped onto a WNBA court, she has been subjected to a level of physical aggression that goes far beyond typical welcome to the league treatment. She has been hip-checked, blindside-shouldered, and shoved to the floor by cheap shots away from the ball. For weeks, the league office remained deafeningly silent as its biggest star was treated like a human piñata. The inaction was a glaring endorsement of the on-court violence, creating a perception that the league was either unwilling or unable to protect its most valuable asset. This physical neglect is the other side of the same coin as the verbal disrespect alleged by players. It feeds the narrative of a front office that is dangerously out of touch, seemingly content to let its golden goose be brutalized as long as the ticket sales keep climbing. The "be grateful" comment was not an isolated gaffe. According to players, it's part of a larger disturbing pattern of behavior. Collier also alleged that Engelbert told her that players should be on their knees, thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal she secured. This, combined with a separate, alleged comment that only the losers complain about the refs, creates a portrait of a leader who appears to hold a deep-seated contempt for her own athletes. It's a narrative of condescension, suggesting a belief that the players are ungrateful subordinates who should be seen and not heard, a mindset utterly at odds with the modern vision of a player-driven league. For her part, Commissioner Engelbert has publicly refuted the claims made against her. In a statement, she expressed that she was disheartened by Collier's characterization of their private conversations and denied making the most inflammatory remarks. Her defenders argue that she is a seasoned business executive tasked with making the WNBA a profitable, self-sustaining entity for the long term. From this corporate perspective, every decision is a calculated financial risk, and her job is to secure the best possible deals for the league as a whole, not just for one or two superstar players. They would suggest that her focus on the platform of the WNBA is not a dismissal of individual talent, but an assertion of the league's collective value. In this view, she is not a villain, but a pragmatist navigating the complex transition from a niche league to a major commercial enterprise, a process that inevitably creates friction with those who are more focused on the passion of the game. Caught in the middle of this escalating war is Caitlin Clark herself, forced to navigate a political minefield. Every word she speaks is dissected, every gesture analyzed. If she aligns too closely with the rebelling players, she risks being labeled a diva or a disruptor. If she stays silent, she could be seen as unsupportive of her peers who are fighting battles that will ultimately benefit her. Her response to the controversy has been a masterclass in diplomacy, carefully validating the other players' feelings without adding fuel to the fire. "I have great respect for Fee," Clark stated, "and I feel she made a lot of very valid points. It was the only move she could make, a quiet acknowledgement of the conflict while trying to remain above the fray she unwillingly caused." Further complicating Clark's position is an undercurrent of tension that exists independently of the commissioner's office, a generational divide within the player base itself. For years, a core group of veterans toiled in relative obscurity, building the league brick by brick with grit and sacrifice. They fought for every scrap of media attention and every dollar in the salary cap. Then, in one season, a single player arrived and instantly commanded a level of fame and fortune that eclipsed anything they had ever known. This has, in some circles, created a palpable resentment. The narrative that Clark is a pawn also applies here, as her name is often invoked in debates about rookie pay scales and media favoritism, turning her into a symbol of a shift in power that some veterans find unsettling. It's a complex dynamic of respect, jealousy, and a struggle for the soul of the league they all love. The irony at the heart of this conflict is staggering. The WNBA is experiencing a financial renaissance, a gold rush directly attributable to Caitlin Clark. Viewership for the 2024 draft, where she was selected, shattered records with 2.45 million viewers, a 300% increase from the previous year. Teams are moving their games to larger NBA arenas to accommodate the unprecedented ticket demand. Her jersey became the top-selling jersey for any draft pick in any sport. Yet, this explosion in revenue and relevance is happening against a backdrop of internal chaos and animosity. The league is richer and more popular than ever, but it may also be more broken than it has ever been. There is a glaring hypocrisy in how the league is handling its biggest star. On one hand, the WNBA's marketing machine has gone into overdrive, using Caitlin Clark's image to sell everything from tickets to television deals. She is the face of every promotion, the subject of every how-to-watch guide. But behind the scenes, the league's leadership is accused of trying to minimize her individual impact and lecture her about gratitude. She is simultaneously the league's most valuable asset and, as some players see it, its most resented figurehead. This dual-role promotional tool and internal target is the very definition of being used, solidifying White's pawn analogy. Stephanie White's declaration that your employees are your number one asset was a pointed reminder of a fundamental business principle the league seems to have forgotten. Sophie Cunningham's raw sentiment that the people in power don't know ST about basketball speaks to the same issue, a widening chasm between the corporate suite and the hardwood. The players and coaches feel that decisions are being made based on spreadsheets and PR strategies, not on what's best for the game or the athletes. This disconnect fosters a deep resentment, as the people who are the actual product feel their expertise and well-being are being ignored in favor of a top-down, business-first approach that is alienating the entire locker room. For 27 years, the WNBA fought for a seat at the mainstream table. Now, thanks to a once-in-a-generation talent, they not only have a seat, they have the attention of the entire world. This is the pivotal moment Stephanie White spoke of. The league has the opportunity to solidify itself as a major player in the global sports landscape. But this internal strife, This war between the players and the front office threatens to squander that opportunity. The league's future hangs in the balance, not because of a lack of talent or interest, but because of a crisis of leadership from within. The millions of new fans flocking to the WNBA are not lifelong devotees of the league. They are members of the Caitlin Clark caravan. Their loyalty is primarily to her, not to the institution. They are here to watch a transcendent athlete perform, and they have little patience for organizational dysfunction. If these new fans perceive the league as a place that fails to protect or respect its biggest star, they will vanish as quickly as they appeared. The WNBA is not just risking a PR problem, it's risking the alienation of the very fan base that holds the key to its long-term sustainable growth. The conflict has spilled out of the locker room and into the stands and social media feeds, creating ugly divisions among the league's supporters. Online forums are now battlegrounds, with fans drawing lines in the sand, defending either the players or the commissioner. This infighting turns the focus away from the incredible on-court competition and transforms the viewing experience into a political soap opera. The sense of community that the WNBA and its dedicated longtime fans worked so hard to build is being eroded by the toxicity flowing down from the top. This fracturing is being amplified and accelerated by a sports media ecosystem that thrives on conflict. Every hard foul, every critical comment, and every cryptic social media post is instantly clipped, packaged, and blasted across platforms with inflammatory headlines designed for maximum engagement. Complex issues of race, pay equity, and jealousy are flattened into simplistic "vets hate Caitlin Clark" narratives. This media frenzy creates a feedback loop of outrage, pouring gasoline on the existing fires and making any hope of reconciliation nearly impossible. The league isn't just fighting an internal battle, it's fighting a battle against a media machine that profits from its dysfunction. All of this is happening under the shadow of the upcoming collective bargaining agreement negotiations, where the future of the league will be decided. Key issues like charter flights, salary increases, and improved player benefits are on the table. But how can there be good faith negotiations when there is a complete breakdown of trust between the players' union and the commissioner? Following Engelbert's public denial of Collier's account, reports surfaced that Collier canceled a scheduled meeting with her, a clear sign that the relationship may be fractured beyond repair. This isn't just a disagreement, it's a cold war that could freeze the league's progress entirely. In the end, it all comes back to a single devastating word. Pawned. Stephanie White's calm and calculated choice of language was the match that lit the fuse on a powder keg of frustration. She gave voice to a rebellion that had been simmering for months, exposing a leadership crisis that threatens to sabotage the WNBA's golden era. The battle lines have been drawn, and the players have made it clear they will no longer be silent. The question is no longer if the league can handle success, but whether its current leadership will be allowed to survive this insurrection. The game is underway, and it has nothing to do with what happens on the court.